Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, HollywoodShono here, about to give you another Injustice 2 video. In this video, I'd like to talk about 10 things that NetherRealm needs to consider implementing, not necessarily in patch 1.7, but in the very near future. So, we're going to be talking about 10 different things that I think NetherRealm could do to make the game a little bit better, and I'm going to document different games in order to help show my points off. So, first off, we're going to talk about one topic that definitely needs to come to... Alright, and first thing on my list that we need to implement is a 24-hour arena. As you guys can see, the refresh time has been 12 hours since, I believe, patch 1.3, and with 50 characters, this is totally unacceptable. The reason this is totally unacceptable is that free-to-play players do not have enough time to actually use all of their pips. And then we have money-grubbing pigs like LQ Persona and J-Wolf, way above all of the legit players like Eddie Francis, Chaos, and everybody from Doom. And that's just unacceptable. I don't understand why people have to empty their wallets in NetherRealm, and NetherRealm defends them because of that. So, the first change I would like to see is these two people removed from the A arena entirely and in their own division. Let them get 1,000 gems and stop hogging the leaderboard. J-Wolf normally hasn't been on the leaderboard, so I'm not going to target him. And we used to farm him when they had the 500,000 threat teams, and thank you for not being a douche like LQ Persona and allowing us to farm you. We really appreciate that. But one thing I would definitely like to talk about them implementing within Injustice 2 is a system kind of like Clash Royale, where you have live battles with other people. I know that in Injustice 1 they didn't do that. However, in Injustice 2, they definitely did something like this. Now, the significance with this mechanism is that, you know, you're playing with other people, and Injustice 2 Arena can easily incorporate this as well, because it's 3-on-3 tag. You can choose when to tag into people, and you can also choose when to actually, you know, just play the game. And it's really cool. I mean, there could be various interactions where you could give, like, buffs to specific people, but this is the type of gameplay that people want to see in Injustice 2, and I can guarantee you that people would spend more money on your game if you are willing to actually develop fun things like this. 2v2 in Clash Royale is a lot of fun. I could see 3v3 in Injustice Gods Among Us 2 being a great game mode. However, it does need a little bit of work in practice. And yeah, as you can see, Clash Royale does require a lot of strategy beyond the simple point of let's just spam with Electro Wizard, Inferno Tower, and Princess. But this is the type of stuff that makes the game cool because you're not expecting certain things. Look at that Hog Rider get shut down by that level 7 P.E.K.K.A. He's just laughing and having a good time. But we got some elite bars. We got some level 12 bars getting shut down. I don't know why you'd fireball one bar, but whatever. Now we just have to watch out for a skeleton army here. But as you can see, oh yeah, the Rage P.E.K.K.A. going in. They did not see the level 7 P.E.K.K.A. and I think they just gave up there. Look at that level 7 P.E.K.K.A. and we got a heal spell for that. Game over. This is the type of stuff that we definitely need to see in Injustice 2 because it's just fun. Look at that, heal spell doing work, and yeah, people like this style of gameplay. This is why Clash Royale makes $1 million a day. Thank you very much for the well played there. Now, next up, I'm going to document another game that I have been playing the last couple of days, and it's made me realize how little content Injustice 2 actually has in comparison to Marvel Future Fight. And as you guys know, Marvel Contest of Champions makes around $150,000 a day. And while I still have not played Marvel Contest of Champions, I have been enjoying Marvel Future Fight quite a bit. But look at this stuff right here. We have a story, a daily mission, a special mission, and an epic quest. Now, the epic quest I find to be really cool because it's a very long, drawn-out process to actually upgrade specific characters to max. Think of it like your Armored Superman in achievements. You have to do different things, and like researching the Book of Vishanti takes a specific resource, which is, you know, 200 Norn Stones of Energy, which you have to farm doing specific battles. So if Injustice 2 could just make more game modes like this, or even game modes like, for example, co-op. You have world boss invasions where you can fight really hard opponents, and you had the bloated stats in Injustice 1, and unfortunately the developers were super lazy on this after patch 2.0. They did not increase the difficulty or add a fourth difficulty that made it hard, like they did with the 8th page of battles with Injustice 1, which I highly respect and will finish up in the near future. So, they even have challenges. They have Shadowlands, which is like a raid type thing every week where you have 30 different groups of characters. You could use one character and try to progress through all that. And I just think it would be cool. And look at all the arena modes. 5 different arena modes. And Alliance Conquest is a beta, obviously. But, you know, it's just the fact that Marvel is innovating and making more stuff into the game than NetherRealm. And I think that this game could be one that could be played for a while. Now, there is one thing that I noticed within Marvel Future Fight, and this is something that I think they could implement in Injustice 2 as well. And in-game passive gear, or just cards that kind of just do whatever. So it doesn't have to be major things, but if everybody has, say, 5.5% dodge, we already have a Superman that can mitigate 50% of basic attacks and cooldown duration. Now, I would assume that in Injustice 2, this could be like reduced time for tag-ins, and it would be totally acceptable. You got the Star Lord comic, 4.5% chance to ignore defense. This could be like global armor piercing. Now, obviously for Injustice 2, it is a totally different style of game. This is more of an RPG-like game. However, I could see a lot of the same mechanics implemented, just like in Gods of Rome, how you have a pathway to do stuff, and kind of like in the World Boss Invasions. You know, and also Gods of Rome kind of had something like this too, where you just progress through, and eventually you'd have certain like brackets or like pathways you could choose, kind of like the new Tekken mobile game. And let's actually take our supply chest here. So we get 10 biometrics for Black Cat. We also get 27,044 gold. So that's pretty cool. And they even have things where you can pay gems to expand to get more chests. It has that Clash Royale type feeling, but I just think it's really cool. So, also, there's more dailies in the game. Obviously, there's more dailies in Injustice 2 than there is in Marvel Future Fight, but much like the Silver Aquaman and Silver Amazon Wonder Woman, if you complete all a specific amount of achievements, you get rewards. This kind of does that too, where every 5 days you're guaranteed 30 gems. And you can get 25 gems a day as well. So I think that's pretty cool in itself. And you just have different game modes that encourage you to play different game modes instead of just arena. I get that Injustice 2 has something like that, but I'd like to see more interactive stuff. And obviously hitting specific levels with specific people could reward you with gems. And look at that. They're definitely very rewarding with that. And you can even quest, and they even have daily mission for clearing 10 stages. You can upgrade gear, and look at that, Facebook synergy. So if you have 25 friends, you get gems. If you make so many other friends, you get gems. And if you have Facebook friends, let's remember the Injustice 1 Facebook synergy that no longer works. I think that'd be pretty cool. Now, going into the story mode of Marvel Future Fight, kind of like the campaigns. Yes, I know I forgot to unlock a chest, but look at all the chapters that Marvel Future Fight has. And this is obviously where stuff gets hard. Now, granted, they don't have heroic difficulty in Injustice or in Marvel Future Fight, so this could be something that offsets it. But I think the way that Marvel Future Fight does it is pretty cool, where it's like the first 10 chapters are really easy, and then the difficulty ramps up. It gives you a chance to farm specific characters that you want, and biometrics, you can farm each stage 10 times. Why are we limited to 3 in Injustice 2, especially with the ridiculous energy system? I think that increasing the amount of times you can do a stage is good for your company, because it's going to be more gems that you're going to be able to get from people overall, because they're going to be spending more energy to actually get cards faster. So while the rates for actually getting the cards is not that bad, 25, 25, and 50 gems, they could always increase that to compensate. They could increase it up to 50, 100, and 100, and I think people would still refresh it just for the simple fact that, you know, you could refresh your account energy 10 times. But I would like to see, you know, more chapters in Injustice 2. Speaking of which, there are certain cards in the game that do not have a gold or a silver variant. We have not seen a silver Supergirl, a silver Sub-Zero, silver Poison Ivy, silver Starfire, silver Captain Cold, and alternate ways to actually get Aquaman and Amazon Wonder Woman other than paying gems, especially since the maximum you can get either Amazon Wonder Woman or Aquaman is 3 stars without paying gems, which really isn't that bad that it does that. But I wish that the offers were simpler than you have to level a character to 10. You have to level it to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, or you have to unlock a brand new card entirely and hope to gods the RNG actually works in your favor, like it did with Arkham Knight Batman for me. Now, 2 other things that they definitely need to work on is the gear system. As you know, when you farm Chapter 8, the highest level of gear you can actually get is 20. Now, to upgrade a gear past 40, we're talking 4,000 shards. So in practice, if you're only spending, let's say, 200 gems a day, refreshing your energy 4 times, you're going to get around 5,000 to 6,000 resource crystals to upgrade. And once you hit level 60, that's not even one upgrade. So you're talking over a month to get 1 gear item up. I really think that they need to add chapters into the game, and I think NetherRealm needs to start thinking about the free-to-play aspect, which is very important in every game, and stop trying to think about how to take money from your wallets, because that's just going to get people to abandon your game. And guess what? It's going to be just like Mortal Kombat X and WW Immortals, where nobody plays the game anymore. Granted, Mortal Kombat X just recently got an update, so that might not be the case anymore, but I really think that Injustice 2 needs to start caring more about the free-to-play players and not about how much money can we suck out of people like LQ Persona, J-Wolf. I really think that they need to think about that aspect. And another thing I'd like to talk about is tag-in balancing. You guys saw that I just did a video on the tag-in mechanics. There are 3 characters, actually 4 that I can think of, that really need a global tag-in cooldown. This means if you're using any one of these characters on the team, it's not cumulative, so if you use all 3, you're not going to have 36-second tag-in. But I think if you're running Predator Batman on your team, if you're running Emerald Green Lantern on your team, if you're running Dr. Fate on your team, or if you're running Atlantean Armor Aquaman, those 4 characters should give 12-second tag-outs for the entire team. It doesn't matter how you set up your roster. If you have Predator Batman with anybody on your team, you have a 12-second global tag-in cooldown for your entire team. I think that would help balance the cards out a little bit more, because let's face it, all 4 of those cards are completely busted and overpowered. Now, Silver Aquaman I think should be at 8 seconds because his passive is not as game-breaking as being able to heal for the entire team. Mythic Wonder Woman I think is fine at an 8-second cooldown because of her chop slide armor piercing, and you can't cycle power as quickly. Flora Poison Ivy I also feel is acceptable with an 8-second tag-in because of her Vine Drill also giving armor piercing. As you can see, even at level 1, it does a lot of damage. So if we upgrade it up, you're talking another 3,000 damage. That's pretty insane. And then if it crits, your Vine Drill is going to hit for over 20,000. I think Flora Poison Ivy needs to stay at an 8-second cooldown. Now, one person that I think should go to an 8-second cooldown is Captain Cold. A couple of reasons for that is Team Critical Attack Resistance is a very powerful passive by itself, and it's kind of funny that it takes 50% for the skill not to be garbage, but in the case of Captain Cold, that's exactly what it takes. Now, the other side of his passive is when Captain Cold is the active combatant, he has a 100% chance to disable one of the opponent's abilities, 1 or 2. If you've ever gone up against Captain Cold, you can see just how strong this ability is, and I think Captain Cold should have an 8-second cooldown when tagging in. Now, Soul Stealer Dr. Fate does have a 4-second cooldown on tagging, but I feel that because of his Break of Life ability being really strong, as well as his Reversal of Fate, in order to not cycle tag quite as much. I think that Dr. Fate should have an 8-second cooldown on Soul Stealer. Now, as far as Dark Supergirl goes, I think that if Predator, Batman, and Emerald Green Lantern have a global 12-second cooldown, I think I would be okay with an 8-second cooldown on Dark Supergirl. But as long as Emerald Green Lantern and Predator, Batman have 4-second tag-ins, why on earth would you use Dark Supergirl? My analysis with Dark Supergirl is you're running Emerald Green Lantern, you're running Predator Batman, which is the best setup. Why would you even tag in Dark Supergirl? I think that if you make it so Dark Supergirl costs less time than Predator Batman, obviously you wouldn't be running Predator Batman, but I think that Dark Supergirl would be a lot more useful. And yes, the whole 100% damage and crit chance for 7 seconds is cool, but why not just tag in Predator Batman, use armor piercing, and obliterate the opponent, or use the stun bombs? It just makes absolutely no sense. Now, one character I think that should also be increased to 8 seconds, in my personal opinion, is Powered Supergirl. Powered Supergirl is a really good card because of the chance to make your walking laser absolutely free. So I think that because of this mechanic, and walking laser does not get mitigated by defense. So you're talking at higher levels, a walking laser that can probably do upwards of 10,000, 15,000 damage on an application without any sort of crit damage modification. Yeah, Powered Supergirl needs an 8-second cooldown on tagging. That's just my opinion. The card is good enough. Now, another card that I think does warrant an 8-second cooldown, and this might offend a lot of you guys, Speed Force the Flash. Now, while I'm not a pro with unhittable while attacking with Rush and Evade, you also have to figure that he has the fastest man alive, which has up to a 69% chance to stun. And you can just ignore the Dust Kick. Fist of Fury you can use, and if you need to knock somebody out, I've used it in the Energized Starfire challenge, and I think that would be a welcome change. And you also get 30% team fast attack chance, so I think this warrants an 8-second cooldown on the Flash. I know that's going to piss some people off, but it is what it is. Now, Ace Green Arrow currently has an 8-second cooldown, and my question to that is why? Why does he have an 8-second cooldown when Power Lock Arrow power locks the current opponent for 6 seconds? Yes, this happens when you tag out, but you have to wait 8 seconds for that to happen. So you can't have any cool interaction in the current phase with Predator and Batman. You can't synergize it with Black Canary because Black Canary also has an 8-second tag out, and that would just make this ability stupid because already you can just tag out and rinse this effect out. Now, with the global changes to Dr. Fate, Electric Arrow doesn't seem as overpowered, and it's not as overpowered as Aquaman's basically unblockable reach across the entire map and power drain your face off. Electric Arrow can be blocked, and it will not power drain when it blocks. So I feel that Ace Green Arrow should have a 4-second cooldown. Also, in the 4-second cooldown list should be Amazon Wonder Woman because the card doesn't do anything. Like, what does it do other than give you health? Why does it have an 8-second cooldown? This is totally unacceptable and crap. Another character that I have no idea why it has an 8-second cooldown is Batman vs. Superman. Why? The card has nothing about it that warrants overpowered and busted. Yes, you get attack from Batman's and health from a Wonder Woman, but if you're running Batman, why are you using Superman other than the super block, the chops block, or Flora Poison Ivy's armor piercing, or even the first 2 hits of Batman's stun bomb? Why are you using BVS Superman with Batman? 4-second cooldown all the way. And Black Canary in both forms, for some unknown god-awful reason, has an 8-second tag-in. And this cripples Green Arrow or even any synergy because both cards are actually pretty slow. Green Arrow is not a fast card. Black Canary is one of the slowest cards in the game, except for Swamp Thing, which is absolutely crap that that is at 8 seconds as well. And Energized Starfire. Why is Energized Starfire an 8-second tag-in on cooldown? When the opponent spends power, Starfire regenerates health per bar of power. On Starfire's super move, she releases energy, healing her team for a percentage of health. I get that the Tamaridian charge is damage and damage over time, but there's nothing that warrants overpowered about this card. Why is it an 8-second tag-in? This card needs to be 4 seconds. And Entangling Poison Ivy. While I totally get that Flora Poison Ivy warrants the 8-second tag-in, Why does Entangling Poison Ivy have an 8-second tag-in? There is nothing about the card. The Bed of Thorns is just like Catwoman and better than Cyborg's Power Drain Hazard. You can avoid this pretty easily. It's not like Atlantean Armor Aquaman where it's actually pretty difficult to avoid it, but there's nothing that warrants an 8-second tag-in. I've already talked about Ace Green Arrow. Green Arrow does not need an 8-second cooldown. Last Laugh the Joker does not need an 8-second cooldown. The laughing gas can be jumped to avoid it. Same thing like with the teeth. So I don't understand why you need an 8-second cooldown on Last Laugh the Joker. I get that his passive is really strong. It synergizes with Sub-Zero clones, which the AI never uses when you go up against it. So unless you're cloning with Dr. Fate, which would then warrant a 12-second global cooldown, why does Last Laugh the Joker have an 8-second cooldown? I don't get that. Suicide Squad Harley Quinn also has an 8-second cooldown, and in my opinion is one of the worst implemented cards in the game. Unlike Silver Harley Quinn, you don't have multi-hit special 2 and 3. Handstand Kick and To Die For are just boring generic specials. And yeah, yes, this card does gain attack from the Joker, and it has synergy with Deadshot, and it even has synergy running multiple Harley Quinns. But Unhinged Harley Quinn is not a game changer, and I think the best Harley Quinn is actually Silver Harley Quinn. Why does this card have an 8-second tag-in cooldown? It needs to be 4. And finally, Swamp Thing. Why does the slowest card in the game and the worst silver card in the game have an 8-second tag-in? So you can see that he does heal up double the damage as far as health goes, and this does get pretty crazy. If you have Dr. Fate on your team, yes, you can heal a ridiculous amount, but you also have to have gear on Swamp Thing to make it work. Does it warrant an 8-second tag-in? This one maybe. Primal Swamp Thing, absolutely not. This Swamp Thing, I could probably see actually getting an 8-second cooldown, but the card is never used anyway, so why punish people for playing Swamp Thing? Alright, so one last thing I want to talk about is leagues. Now, as we know, this is going to be a feature within Injustice 2 in the very near future, and this is something I'm definitely going to be seeing implemented in the super near future. So, my name on Marvel Future Fight is YT HollywoodShono, and I do run the Alliance HollywoodShono. Now, one thing that I did notice from the leagues in Injustice 2 when I saw screenshots is that it looked to be capped out at 30 players, and I think this is absolute crap. I really think that the cap needs to be at 100. Now, I get that if you have to level up the Alliance in order to actually increase your member count, that's fine, because WWE Champions had that, where you had to get a level 20 faction in order to get 100 members. So I would be perfectly fine with that, even if Alliances start at 30 members and you can eventually work it up to 100, 150. I think that would be acceptable. But for 30 people, the Injustice 2 community would not be in a good place for leagues, because then you're going to be seeing multiple leagues. And I guess this is good, because even places like Clash Royale, with a 50-member limit on their clans, they have like Nova 1, Nova 2, Nova 2 Brazil, and I guess they kind of want people like that. But in order to merge them all together, you have to be using places like Discord, Reddit, you have to have your own forum, and it's just a big headache, especially if you don't check that on a regular basis. Just like in the final example I'm going to show here, Big Show the Giant looks really badass there. Makes him look like his Paul White version. But we're going to show one more thing regarding leagues in Injustice 2 and why I think it should have at least 100 members when you level it up. I'm totally fine with 30 members when it starts up, but there needs to be a purpose for it. And I'm sure that Injustice 2 does have a long-term plan with things, and I'm sure that they go, say, 3-4 months out with their design ideas. But NetherRealm, just hire me. I could think of some great ideas for you guys that would not piss off the community and could be fair to everybody. So, I would love to work for NetherRealm and test out the mobile game exclusively. And I don't want to be sitting here playing other games because your game is just totally boring and they change game modes that don't make it fun anymore. Like, I used to love facing 200, 250, 500,000 threat teams with my guys and having a challenge. Well, there's no challenge when you're fighting people 30, 40,000 threats higher than you. There's just none. So if you go into factions here, you can see that there's up to 100 members and there's a level 20. So yeah, obviously the perks are very you know, boring and generic. It doesn't give you an advantage against other people, but I feel that this is how it should be for increasing league levels, and I would be perfectly fine with that. Obviously, maximum members 5 at level 1 is kind of dumb, especially on launch, but I think 30 to start is okay, but I would like to see it 100. Like, I don't like the whole multiple leagues and clans thing, so to avoid that would be really cool, but you also don't want a lot of trolls coming in and just ruining everything. So if you like this video about 10 things that Injustice 2 needs to implement to try to improve their game, please give this video a like rating, comment, subscribe, share this video amongst your friends, and as a favorite, check out my other Injustice 2 videos playlist, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, which are all HollywoodShono. And if you haven't watched the patch 1.6 tag-in guide, please give that a look because it'll give you a whole new insight on certain characters if you're not sure of their mechanics. Have a wonderful day.
www.youtube.com/HollywoodShono. Subscribe, bitches!